Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CV's Creators Value. I'm your host, Francis. Today, we have a celebrated guest, a creative who has spent her life shaping the arts, telling compelling stories, and creating spaces. Welcome the brilliant Carol Polcovar. Hi, Carol, and welcome to the show.
Hello, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Carol, let's go back to where the journey began. Coney Island. How did your early environment influence in your storytelling?
Well, I think it trapped me in part of Coney Island. That was my world growing up. That's what I knew. And it was an interesting environment. First of all, it was physically beautiful with Victorian architecture at the time. And you'd get statues of Poseidon jumping out of sides of buildings. And of course, the boardwalk and the beach and the amusement center. Yeah. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she couldn't wait to get out of her small town. For me, I wanted to bring the small town out with me. And I guess that's where I landed in life. Coney Island is where I am from artistically and in reality, and I never really left it.
How was of course, the energy by the beach, the shoreline? I always remember the amusement park. That's the reason why I went there. The energy, there's so much energy there. I also remember there were so many actors, beach actors as well. Your father is an actor, is he?
He was an actor, but this is long ago. And he started out in New York theater. But he started out very, very young. He was only a teenager. And he got an invitation to sign a Hollywood contract. And his parents were immigrants, and they didn't think that was a good idea. And he needed their signature. So he didn't go. And that was one of the things he felt deeply about in terms of loss. But he stayed with vaudeville, and he acted in vaudeville doing monologues and songs and imitations. And as the vaudeville work dried up, his work dried up, and he was only acting in the kitchen. And he would do scenes and monologues for us and imitation during our growing up years.
It's amazing how early age of 3 you've been exposed to theater. There's so much in theater. The energy, the backstage, the costumes. Imagine all the richness there is. And for you, you've spent years, 28 years in New York City, is it?
Making that mark? Well, my life, actually. But we were in Manhattan for 28 years. We were in different suburbs and stuff. And of course, I grew up in Coney Island. New York is a great place for theater.
It is. It definitely is. Like Broadway. Well, speaking of which, you founded Fresh Fruit Festival. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Could you talk about it?
It was the end of the line for a little theater group of playwrights I belonged to. And 3 of us were sitting dejectedly in a new place where they would allowed us to use the theater because we weren't doing well. We weren't getting the money we needed. And so we talked about what the next step for the group would be. And we came up with a festival, the idea of a festival inviting in the lesbian, gay, transgender community, because there was no such thing. And because these communities touch every other community in the world. So we would be inviting in a whole lot of diversity and performers that might not get their chance at that particular time. I mean, we're talking I guess, 23 years ago. So there was no outlet. And we were tossing around names. Well, what would we call it? And one of the playwrights said, well, since it's going to be largely gay, let's call it Fresh Fruit, because fruit was a name that they gave, gay men.
Right, right. It's like tutti frutti, isn't it?
Yeah.
uh, well, were just a side question too. Were you during the underground movement of the LGBT community, LGBTQ plus community, the Stonewall movement? Was this any part of it? Was there, or it was too long for? I mean, long time ago.
Well, I'm a long time ago, but I wasn't. I was at that particular point not
Mm-hmm.
there. I've done many things, and one of the things I did was get married and have 3 kids. So I was occupied and not thinking
Right.
about that. And I came up just at the beginning after Stonewall when
Uh,
organizations were getting together and there was a big burst of movement, but
sure.
not so much in the arts. There were
Not so
some
much.
writers. I had been at that time getting my MFA in poetry,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a little magazine. I was involved in the world of poetry. Poems are much shorter, so I had
Mm-hmm.
time to do that.
Well, imagine being one of the cornerstone of this festival. Could you walk us back to a moment where a particular moment in the festival where you're, whether it's a performance or an interaction with an artist, something specific that reminds you that you did what was right and you were doing something that the community essentially needed?
Well, I formalized the idea, and the first the first festival we ever had, and it was multicultural, multidiscipline. I was amazed. We were in a little theater way out in New York's East Village, which is now well known, but not then. And people showed up from everywhere in the world. We had
Mm,
a fee. We had a fee because we couldn't afford to put it on at the beginning without a fee. And they were there. I mean, I had seen it as a multi diverse festival, but I thought it would happen in time.
mm-hmm.
But they were there. People came on their own dime. They came from other states, they came from Europe. And that was amazing to me. And there was one play, and I looked up, I could not find the playwright's name,
Mm-hmm.
that was about female circumcision.
Ah.
It was written by an African woman who lived in a place where this was common. And so the story was told from a very different point of view than from the Western point of view.
Mm.
It was pretty wonderful, and there was one other moment that I'll always remember. We had an open mic at the Sidewalk Cafe, and
Mm-hmm.
open mics get so many artists, you don't
Oh,
remember all
for
of them.
sure, for sure.
But there was one young woman with an Italian name who sat at the piano and sang, and I remembered her. And it turned out that she became Lady Gaga. So one of her first gigs was with Fresh Fruit at the Sidewalk Cafe.
Stay tuned for the next episode.